It is Speaking from Being. I'm so glad y'all are here, whether you are here with us right now live or by rebroadcast. And by the way, if you haven't seen, I recorded a 6-minute video the other day telling the story of why, even though it's being recorded, you might want to be, quote, vulnerable and share, even though you might not know who else might see what you're talking about. So I just recorded a video called, what do they call it? The Times Square distinction. And thanks again to Joan Clare, because she reminded me of that and the value of perspective when it comes to speaking and sharing. But we'll leave that aside for now, because I'm just so excited that y'all are here and we have this opportunity to dive in and learn some things about speaking from being, as well as practice our speaking from being and up our game, because it's so important. It's literally the most, the most valuable skill there is in the world in terms of sharing with the world, improving the world, cross-training. So that said, I will share my screen. Let's see if I get the right screen here. Ta-da. All right. Y'all seeing my screen that says Speaking from Being? Awesome. Thank you. All right, someone else coming in, welcome. And you're not required to be on video to be here. However, and if you are able to and would like to, awesome. It's more engaging and everybody gets more out of it and plays better that way. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so here's the game plan, y'all. What we will do today is I'm going to share just briefly what this is all about, introduce 3 major concepts, again, very briefly, and then we'll have a chance to practice, some of y'all, if you would like to practice upping your speaking game, and give some loving, helpful feedback for whoever would like that. So does that sound good or supremely awesome? Excellent. I love your choice. Thank you. And because some of us have met in this context before, I will just be brief with sharing about what this is and how we got here. You could see the subtitle and why this is such an important thing. Again, whether it's in business, obviously being able to communicate well is helpful in business, though what aspect of life, including all personal life, and including spiritual life, does not relate to communication? I can't think of one, right? Everything, whether we're communicating to the divine God, our creator, our partners, our children, our bosses, our employees, our students, our prospects, whatever it is, communication is part of all of that. And here's the most fundamental, perhaps important thing for you to get here. You may have heard this before, and yet I tell you again, because it's that important. Repetition leads to what? Mastery, right? Repetition is so important. So you can be a great speaker. It's a learned skill, right? It's not something that some people, yeah, sure, they just seem to be naturals at it. I tell you, when I started speaking, I was a disaster. Literally, I remember my sophomore year of college, passing out in class, sitting in a seat in a communications class, literally passing out because I had so much anxiety in me about my, quote, speech, for which I had not prepared. We'll get to that, why preparation is so important. So part of how we get here to this conversation, this presentation, this engagement, is because of a book some of y'all know called The Ultimate Coach. And The Ultimate Coach, written by Amy Hardison together with Alan B. Thompson, is on the surface about an extraordinary being by the name of Steve Hardison. Really, though, it's a book about you and I and our potential. If you haven't read or listened to it, I encourage it, and doing so in a way that leads you to see yourself in the story. So we call it the book of being because it's really about who you are being. And my goodness, out of sequence, I already told you the plan, but here it is again, right? So we'll just be brief with that. My screen's a little bit blocked, so I'm craning my head to look over at it. All right, we talked about all of that. So being could sound a little weird, right? It may not be obvious what being means. Now, you can think of it this way. When you plant a pear tree, what comes up? It ain't apples, right? What comes up from the seed is related to the seed, derivative of the seed. Same thing for us. Who we are being produces what in our lives, right? It produces what we say, how we see the world, the actions we take, how people perceive us. It's in our being. Another way of saying it, though, is what are the thoughts that we have about ourselves and what are the thoughts we have about life? The thoughts that we have become things, become outer reality manifested. And deeper way of putting it, thoughts plus emotions, how we feel, that's our state of being. That is primary to everything in our lives. Now, part of why I come to this conversation with you too is because Joan Claire, who's on the call with us, started the Book of Being, or the Ultimate Coach LinkedIn group, and offered me the opportunity to contribute and help share that message and share the wisdom and the benefits, because myself and Joan Claire also have gotten so much from being part of that world. And this quotation by Emerson, it is Emerson, yeah, Emerson, so powerful. Years ago, when I was teaching yoga teacher trainings and helping people to be presenters, to be leaders, there was a whole nother series of leadership trainings we taught. This is the fundamental teaching on all of it. And it's exactly true for this. The way Emerson put it, who you are, you could say who you are being, who you are speaks so loudly, nobody hears a word you say. All right, I paraphrased it a little bit. And what that points to is it's so much more important, your state, the thoughts you have about yourself and the world, that's so much more important than the words. Now, it's not to say that the words don't matter, and learning some of the skills and technique of speaking, it's not to say that that doesn't matter. It does. And that's part of what we will do here. And the seed that must be planted and you must nurture is underneath that. The most important thing is who you are being. That's what is conveyed primarily through your speaking. And the most obvious example we know with children. How many of y'all have children? Okay. How many of y'all have ever been a child? Okay. How many of y'all could be as childish as me right now? Okay, no, childish, silly, fun, childish, right? What children, do they tend to imitate or follow more what their parent says or who they are being, right? We all have a built-in bullshit detector, which means we see who people are being. It's reflected on their face, even if it's a microsecond, right? So we spoke a little bit about last time about to script or not to script, and that may come back a little bit here. The short version is it depends on the situation. All right. Are y'all ready for some hugely important concepts that you can understand and apply today and that will guaranteed make your speaking better? Are you ready? We got a thumbs up. Okay, cool. So this little dude is walking across what? He's walking across, you could say, a plank. And what do you think? Does he look scared? Does he look confident? He's off the ground a little bit, right? A little bit of boulders there. But he's pretty chill, right? He's like, yeah, I got this, no problem. And have you all ever done the one where you have a like even a 2x4 that's more narrow, but it's on the ground, and just for fun, you're cruising along, you're like, oh, that's it. And you walk across that, it's just actually on the ground. So it's literally 2 inches above the ground. So everybody knows something about what that is. A little bit scarier if you go on a, what do you call it, railroad track, right? That's up a little bit higher, a little more narrow. But y'all know this dude, what's his name? Pierre, I forget his name exactly. Famous for doing a tightrope walk between the Twin Towers in New York City, right? It was a very illegal stunt that he did. Not only did he walk across without a net, he actually did some play up there, got down, sat down, did this whole thing. He did not die. There is a great movie you can see on YouTube about this. What is the difference between this dude and this dude? Another way of saying it, and you might already be curious as to why is Daniel talking about this? Because you, like this guy, are able to speak. You're a pro, you're a natural. You do this all the time with your friends, your partners, your coworkers. You talk, right? It's part of human life, right? So we talk and we're really good at it. One of the best pieces of advice I learned about writing was from a Black woman writer, Paula Marshall. She said, if you write in the same way you heard conversation in your kitchen when you were a kid, you will be a great writer. Because what do people appreciate so much in a presenter, in a speech, when someone's giving a talk? More than slick words, and even more than which words they say, what they appreciate, what we all appreciate is authenticity, being true, being real. Now, the reason is, this is us when we are speaking with our friends, right? There's no risk. We're on the ground. We do this all the time. No problem. However, let's see if I can, oh, yes. What's this here? This is a device to introduce nervousness and tension. I don't know if you've experienced this before, but we could go from this, like we're cool, we're chill, we're talking with our friends, we might use jargon, everything's natural. And then the idea of a microphone or a camera or stepping onto some kind of stage produces a feeling like this. And most of us have not yet trained like this guy has. So he was able to do this because to him, it was not much more than this, right? He got himself up. So this concept I learned in this way from the guys at Ultra Speaking, and they call it the plank. And the biggest problem for all of us with speaking is we clam up, right? What's that? What does that mean? What is it? We clam up. What is a clam, right? It's like a shellfish that closes in. It's tight. And we become shellfish. And I mean shellfish in the sense of selfish. And I've been reminded a few times lately of something that one of my earliest yoga teachers taught me in a very direct, not subtle and challenging way. She wasn't speaking to just me, but I was in the front row and she was looking at me in the eye, kind of like this, when she said, your shyness is really selfishness. I was not happy with her statement. And you know how it is, right? Whenever we feel resistant to something, right? Clearly there's some value in it. There's some truth to it. And what does that mean? And how does it apply here to speaking? Right? when we are in this situation, we're talking with our friends, our family, and everything's all right, we're not thinking about ourselves. We're not focused on ourselves. We're not worried about what are they thinking of me? Am I using the right words? Am I coming across this way or that way? We are not in the midst of WIAT. What is WIAT? New phrase I learned recently, great acronym. It is a disease that I personally have been plagued with more than once in my life. And WIAT stands for what I think others are thinking. What I think others are thinking. How many of y'all have ever had a moment where you've thought to yourself, oh, what are they thinking of me? Right? It's human nature, because there's a fundamental fear amongst all of us that we're not good enough, right? That we're not going to be loved. You know, Tony Robbins would say those are the two fundamental fears. I'm not good enough and I won't be loved. So then, because we're thinking, what others are thinking, what do I think they're thinking about me? Well, I should probably try and speak in a certain way and use certain words and and get a specific kind of tone and then come across like a presenter, right? And as soon as that happens, the effectiveness goes down. And when that happens, where is our attention? Let me put it this way. If I am in WIAT, what I think others are thinking, am I focused on me or the audience, right? And why is shyness selfishness? It's because I am concerned about me rather than just focusing on them and sharing with them, right? So this is such like, and I'm investing some time with y'all on this because it's so powerful and so important. If you got nothing else from this conversation today, and you can take that concept and land it and apply it and work with it, it'll change your life. It'll be worth every dollar you spent to be here. Wait a minute, you didn't spend anything, but you're given an hour of your time. You know, that's, I don't know, what are we going to call that? Y'all are a good looking, smart group of people. So I'm saying that's at least $2,000 an hour of your time. I don't know, for some of you, that's way too little. Some of you, you're like, $2,000 an hour, I'll take it. Either way, if that's all you get from this concept of overcoming shyness, WIAT, putting your focus on others, incredibly valuable. So the bottom line to this concept is what we need to do. And we're going to get into, in a moment, we're going to get into, well, how do you do that? Is being in a pressured situation, is it really pressured, or is that just something we make up, right? Is it any different speaking, right, with a microphone? Did anything change, right? If I bring the mic, nothing actually really changes except our thinking about it, right? So this is what we are training ourselves to do, is when there is pressure, right? I think, let's see, I know at least one person here through BNI. When in BNI, it's a networking group for those that don't know. When you are in a BNI situation, you've got 45 seconds to deliver your commercial, right? That's pressure. Why is it pressure? Well, you got 45 seconds. That's it, right? And then the bell's going to ring. Or what else could be pressure, right? It's being recorded. Who might see this? What else could be pressure? Oh, there's a whole bunch of people here, and I don't know what they're going to think of me. These are ways that we think of it as pressure. Nothing wrong with pressure. So what we are learning to do is be as natural as we normally are in pressured situations. So let's see, before we go on to the next concept here, let's pause for a moment. And I would love to hear from y'all bright, beautiful beings. No, okay, I'm not recording. Zoom just told me I was muted. I was like, God, that would be a bummer if I've been muted this whole time. Jeez Louise. So I'm glad this case Zoom was not correct. So how's this landing for y'all? What sense do you make of this? Any sense at all? Who would like to share what you are getting from this piece? All right, look at that. Brian Kelly with the official Zoom hand raised. I believe you can unmute yourself, so please do and tell us what's up. No, you can't unmute yourself? All right, well, then not to be, let's see, I will unmute you, ask to unmute. No, that's not good. Oh, I heard something. What was that? Unmute. Should be able to unmute. No? All right, let me try it. Oh, come on, Zoomy. Where are we going? Unmute, record. All right, we'll do. Oh, Zoom's confused for a minute. Unmute all. Ask all to unmute, mute upon entry. All right, there we go. Brian.
How about now?
Loud and clear.
All right. Yeah, this is so on point. Everything you're talking about.
Hold on, sorry. Zoom is having a moment. It's me. Me and Zoom.
How about
we
now?
are. There we go. Okay, good. Please continue.
Yes, it's very much on point as far as making it all about yourself. And it also plays very well into the nerves aspect when you're about to go on stage or you're about to speak. A mentor of mine, man, this was like the most ultimate training, and you're giving it right now, Daniel. And that is, he would notice I'm getting anxious. They're about to announce me going up on stage at his seminar. I was his lead trainer for a while. And he'd just come up to me and says, remember, just think about the impact you're going to have on the audience. And the moment I internalized that within a microsecond, my anxiety went away. It melted. And I was able to go up and really perform at my best and my highest as a result of taking myself out of the equation and making it more about the audience. So I love how you brought that up here today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, Brian. Cool. Yeah, Joan Claire, God willing. Yes, you can unmute yourself. There we go. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I just loved how you had you had the pictures of the boy on the little clank and then the guy, and the analogy with the speaking to your family and just like at home and speaking to an audience. I really appreciated that because it gives me a felt sense in my being and my body of like when I'm talking to my husband, I'm not like, getting all anxious about what I'm going to say. I mean, I might kind of do some self-reflection on how articulate I am being, but I'm not. It gives me actually a reference point for how I can be when I speak to a larger crowd. I can hone into that feeling in my body of feeling relaxed and speaking to my husband or someone that I'm close to, a friend, and so I appreciate you giving us those two different situations as kind of a reference points.
Awesome. Thank you, Joan Claire. Yeah. And one thing just to connect this in, I'm not going to share a lot about scripting or not scripting here, though, as I said before, the short answer is it depends on the situation. There's nothing wrong with scripting. The problem or the challenge with scripting, in case this isn't obvious what I mean, it's like, we write down word for word everything I'm going to say. We memorize a speech, whether it's 30 seconds or an hour and a half, can be done, and there can be good value to that. It is so challenging, though, because once we memorize something or if we read something, it tends to feel canned, rehearsed, and I don't mean rehearsed insufficiently, because then it's not authentic or extemporaneous would be the natural. It's because like when we're talking to our kids or our friends, whatever, we're not rehearsing what we're going to say. We're just thinking there's something that I want to, maybe from here, maybe both. There's something I want to communicate, and we trust that our brain and our being can translate the feeling, the thought we want to communicate, can translate that into words and gestures, can translate the feeling, the impulse into communication. we trust it. And so that's what we want to be cultivating all the time. Whenever we're speaking, I want to share something. My brain will figure it out, will know how to share it. We can script, however, to do it really well, then we have to rehearse so much that we know it so well, we're not thinking about what we're going to say. And this is one other way we can summarize this whole huge point here is, what is the biggest enemy of effective communication? What is the biggest enemy of effective speaking? Thinking about it. It's thinking about what we're going to say, right? Again, when we're with whoever we're speaking with naturally, we're not thinking about it. We're just doing it. And everyone here has that ability. Okay. Soapbox is now to the side. I'm back on the floor. Hannah, please share what's going on.
Yes. So what I have to say, this is totally Hannah here. I'm not talking about anyone else. So by default, placing the attention on the audience is not the default thing for me to do. So I have to learn that. I have to be well aware of that intentionally, and I'm learning that. So I just want to say that maybe for a lot of people, they just walk on stage and they can do it. You know, they can just place the attention of the audience easily. But for some of us, we really need to be intentional about it.
Hallelujah. Absolutely. And that goes right back to what I was saying earlier. It is learnable. This is a skill. I remember years ago when I first moved to Omega Institute, 1996, I was so shy and overwhelmed with the people around me. And I went to this dance class, which was way out of my comfort zone. There were like 150 people in this huge hall. And the woman leading it, her name is Gabrielle Roth. Amazing, amazing teacher, author. And she had all of us walking around the room, and she's about to lead us into this hour and 15-minute dance class. And she said this, and this may land just perfectly for you, Hannah. Others of you might say, ooh, that's just what the shaman ordered today. What she said is, if any of you are feeling uneasy or concerned, she didn't use these words, but focusing on yourself, she said, I've got a 3-step foolproof plan for you. Here's what you do. Step 1, get over yourself. Step 2, get over yourself. Step 3, indeed, get over yourself. And it's so liberating for all of us when we can, it's liberating in the truest sense. We just get over ourselves and say, hey, I'm fine. I don't care what they think about me. I'm here to share with them. It's an act of generosity and bravery. All right. Do you pronounce it Andrea or Andrea or some other way?
Andrea is what my mother called me.
All right.
I'll see if I can stand so I have a light in my face. One of the things that I learned is that fear and excitement sort of tickle all the same nerves. And so I tend to lean towards believing before I go on stage that I'm excited. And when I focus on being excited, and then I add on, it's about them. And my particular topic really is about them. Even though I'm telling my own story, I'm telling it so that they can hear a pathway, like I'm breaking fresh snow. That it's still about them. Somebody has to go first in this particular topic, so I'm going, right? But I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to connect. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. And Andrea, where in the world are you right now?
I'm in Toronto. Yes, I'm wearing a coat. It's
yes. It's dark. You're in the GTA. Thank you for being with us. And so true what you said. And I love the way you said it. Fear and excitement tickle the same nerve, right? Beautiful way of saying that. One of my favorite twists on that is fear is excitement without the breath, right? And in other words, when we have fear and we breathe, it becomes excitement. And this is a revolutionary concept in the speaking world. I'll share with y'all. I didn't come up with this, although I've embraced it and found it to be 100% true. We used to get this old advice that when you go on the stage, when you're going to give your presentation, when you turn the camera on, whatever it is, what you should do is take a bunch of deep breaths and calm down, right? Bad advice, it turns out. Well-meaning, so much advice that actually isn't helpful. It's well-meaning, but the reason that doesn't work, Andrea pointed to, is the excitement is great. I read last year an amazing book about speaking called Talk Like Ted, right? So if you don't know Carmine Gallo's books, this one, The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs, incredible books. And one of the beautiful things that he highlighted in there is what makes, and this was, of course, especially about TED Talks, but it applies to all kinds of speaking and communication, a hugely important, he might have even said the most important ingredient in all of these outstanding TED Talks: enthusiasm, right? And this is part of what Andrea was pointing to, is like having the enthusiasm. Like, I care that you all get this. I care that you have this experience here and that you are inspired and that you're able to communicate more. You know, some of you I know already, some of you I'm just meeting now. I know, though, that all of you have amazing, powerful things to share. You've got unique life experiences. And I would bet my last dollar that if you are here today, part of that is because you want to contribute to the world. You want to share some of your hard-won wisdom, some of your challenges, and help other people, right? And so if you can bring that enthusiasm, that caring, you can, onto the stage with you as enthusiasm, that's excitement. We don't need to quell the fear. We need to turn the fear into excitement by bringing our enthusiasm to share with other people. All right. Cool. Okay, so let's move onward. Hopefully this makes sense about the plank, the pressured situation. So let's come back to our slides. Hello, slides. Where are you, slides? There we go. All right. And there he is again, Jean-Pierre. And let's do this. Get you all back up here where I can seize you. Not seize, but see. Microphone. Now, how many here have read this book by Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics? It's old school, classic. I mean, it goes into the 70s, I think. And this guy who wrote this book, Maxwell Maltz, was a, what do you call that? Somebody who changes people's face, a comedian. No, that's a different kind of face change. A surgeon that changes face. There's a specific name for it, and we'll come back to it. Anyway, facial reconstruction. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. He was that kind of work, and he observed this phenomenal thing. The phenomena that some people would come to him and say, hey, Dr. Maltz, my nose is too big and I feel, shy, or feel like people don't like me about it. Others would come and say, I feel like whatever their complaint was, whatever the thing they thought was not right about their face. And so, because this was his job, he would do the surgery. And then a ways into the practice, he noticed something like half of the people that got the surgery, their life changed in a positive way. They ended up feeling confident. They ended up feeling better about themselves. They ended up not caring so much. WIAT. You remember WIAT? What I think others are thinking. They ended up not caring so much about what other people think because they felt more comfortable and confident about themselves. However, another group of patients, nothing changed, right? They still had the same nervousness, the same fear, the same worries. And so he started realizing that it's not actually the surgery, it's not changing the face, it's the inner game. So he wrote this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And part of what it points to, and part of what's important for us to get out of it in the speaking game, is we need to learn, we can learn, we benefit from learning that our brain is a cybernetic machine, right? In other words, if we input into our brain the goal, right? And this is part of why goal setting is so valuable. If we input into our brain what it is that we want, or what it is we want to communicate, the brain will figure it out. It's like a GPS. If you input the destination, the GPS will figure it out. Same thing is true for us when it comes to speaking. So part of what we are learning is to trust that the brain will give us what we need to communicate. So we don't have to think about it. We can just trust the brain will do the thinking, right? In other words, and here's one of the simple ways you can activate this, right? Somebody says to you, what do they say? They say, what is the most important thing that you've ever learned in your life? Right. Now, that could lead you to stopping, thinking, oh, what about this? What about that? What's the right thing? What is it? Thinking. If, on the other hand, you just do this, and this is like master level jujitsu verbal speaker skill that every one of you can adopt instantly and apply in your life, and that is feeding your brain with a sentence stem. In this case, what that means is you start saying, the most important thing I've ever learned in my life is, and then what's going to happen? When you say, the most important thing I've ever learned in my life is, what's your brain going to do? It's going to give you an answer. It's going to fill in the blank. It's going to come up with something. Now, tomorrow, it might come up with something completely different. The next day, something completely different. But the great thing to learn here is if you just give it the input, just like with the GPS, put in the destination, it will come. You don't have to think about it, right? Another way you can work with this, another way you can move beyond thinking about, is starting by saying, I don't know. However, what comes to me in terms of the most important thing, right? You just soften it. You don't have to have the right answer. You just start the sentence. Feed your brain, and there are other sentence stems we can use. The main point, though, here is just to feed the machine, give yourself the start, trust that your brain will fill in the blanks. So that's about speaking extemporaneously. And we could speak more about how we do that, and we probably will, though I want to move forward now so that we can get some actual practice with this. And that leads us to this amazing quotation. Apparently it was Eisenhower who said, plans are worthless, but planning is essential. The way we can apply that here is 98% of the time when you are speaking, be that at a business networking group, be that a YouTube video, be that whatever it is that you want to speak about, you're going to be better off not scripting word for word. You'll be better off to have a few bullet points. Now, stepping back, let's make this really clear. Whatever works for you, right? This is about trial and success. Trial and success. Try this, see what works. Find your way of doing it. And what I've seen for myself, and now with thousands of people that I've worked with, and through my own research, which has been extensive, is most people speaking without knowing every word. Just this is the general thing I want to talk about, is the way to go. All right. Is that making sense to y'all? Thumbs, hands, yes. Zoom devices. All right. So now the way we can apply this, boy, this is a day of quotations. Archilochus said, we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. Now, me in that 10th grade communication class with such phenomenal anxiety that I literally passed out, oh my, was that embarrassing, was a result of me not understanding the point of this quotation, because I didn't, for whatever silly reasons, I hadn't learned this yet. It's a learned skill. I hadn't prepared. I somehow believed that I could just speak and it would be all great. But then when the pressure started to come and I knew they were going to be looking at me and I was going to get graded, I got really anxious because I had not done any training. Right? So here's the way we can work with that, all of us. Such a great way of planning and training without scripting and rehearsing word for word. This could be called the accordion method, but let's put it really simply. Speaking about something with a artificial pressure in the form of time. And we say, okay, I'm going to speak for 30 seconds, 2 minutes, could even be longer, it could be 10 minutes, whatever it is. I'm going to speak about this. I'm not going to prepare. I'm just going to go for it. And then what happens when we do that is some things we say are worthless. Maybe not worthless. They're not so good. Let's say that. Some things we say will really shine though, and we might be surprised. And this goes to a different way of creating than a lot of us learned. Like a lot of us in school learned this method that, okay, I'm going to write a paper. I'm going to give a speech. So now I'm going to write out the entire outline for it. And then once I've written out the outline, I'm going to revise it and edit. Right? Another school of creativity says, do it. Just do it. Do the best you can with it. And then once you've done it, throw away the previous draft. And then a little bit later, do it again. And what you can do with that method, and by the way, I won't go into the details on this, really well researched that the latter method is much more successful at producing higher quality works of art in whatever format. We could talk about that for an hour. It's fascinating stuff. And for us, the thing to get is here, we just do it. And then at the end of that, we give ourselves feedback in the form of what went well. There's that WWW again, right? What went well? And if y'all train yourself, this is the most essential skill set of mastery. Train yourself to do what you do, say what you say, and then give feedback starting with, and this is key, it's essential, starting with what went well. And for a lot of us, that goes against some training we had, some conditioning from the past, the red pen syndrome, which is what was wrong. What was wrong? This, we need to toss that aside. We don't need to. We do well if we toss that aside and instead bring in first what went well. And lest you think it's all unicorns and daisies, pansy type of feedback, you do want to go to the next level, which is EBI, another 3 letters. EBI stands for even better if. Next time, it would be even better if I bring more enthusiasm, right? Have some more pauses. Even better if next time I speak more slowly. Whatever is the thing you realize that would make it better next time. Nothing is wrong. It's just you're going to get another chance. And so when you get the next chance, what do you want to bring to it? All right. Let's do this. I'll keep the timer up there. Any thoughts or questions about this form of super speaker, superhero training preparation? Anything y'all want to say about that or ask about it? We're going to go in a moment to actually giving some practice. Dr. Kelly, what have you to say or ask?
Doctor, oh my, no way. This is phenomenal stuff. It's affirming in a lot of stuff I've learned over the years. And what you are telling everyone here, I paid a lot of money to learn, a lot of money and a lot of time. And everything you have said thus far is spot on. So I hope everyone here is truly. I love to help people. I'm sorry, I don't really have a question. I just want to piggyback on what you're saying and let everyone know that what you're saying is so spot on. And I have gotten such incredible results on speaking from stages using exactly what you've been saying thus far with what went well and even better if, give yourself some credit, but then also give yourself some feedback and then give yourself a pat on the back for the fact that you did it. Just all of this together, everything you've done up to this point, Daniel, is genius, and I appreciate what you're doing and helping others here today.
Thank you for sharing all that. And I love that you apologize for wanting to help other people. That was hilarious. Thank you. No, silliness aside. Okay, let's hear one more bit and then let's do some practice with this. Andrea.
Another technique that I use is to talk to voice memo, to do what you're suggesting, free forming into voice memo. And then I find that if I keep doing that, I keep finding what's working and what's not working.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great technique. It's a way of adding a little bit of self-imposed artificial pressure. And, pressure is what turns coal into diamonds, right? So who would like to take a step and give a little practice for this, would be brave enough to speak a little bit with some presentation, with some pressure in the form of a timer to improve your speaking capability and help us all?
How much time?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. But I think we'll just keep it simple. So let's ask this, Hannah. What's the primary place where you would like your speaking to improve? What's the situation?
I would like more to sound natural. Every time I listen to myself, I record myself and I listen to myself. I'm so disappointed because I sound like even if I'm not reading. I mean, there are times when I am reading, I sound like I'm reading, but there are times when I'm not even reading. I'm just saying my pitch. And I listen to it and I go, that's not what I want. I want to just hear me talking like you and me talking like this. And it's so hard because once I write it down, then I'm saying it like I write it. I guess I need to write it different. I need to write it with the way I speak, because the way I speak is uniquely me. I grew up in South America and I lived in 7 countries. So I have my own way of speaking. And I don't write that. I don't write like the way I'm speaking to you right here. I don't write like that. I don't write like just the way I'm speaking. I write English, like more formal.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. How many people can relate, first of all, to what Hannah's saying, that we have the experience of, I want to speak, I speak, and it's like, I don't like the way it sounds. Who's ever had that experience? Yeah. And if you didn't raise your hand, let me try this. How many of you brushed your teeth today? Okay. Usually that gets everybody to be honest or pretend that. Anyway, of course, we've all had that experience. So quick bit, and then we'll give you some practice and help you with this, Hannah. And this will be really useful for everybody. The way that I work with this process is whenever I want to speak, whether I'm giving a presentation or recording a video, whether it's a instructional video or a sales video or whatever it is, first I write in order to help me think, to clarify, what do I want to say? How do I feel about this? And I just brainstorm free association writing, right? And I'm not taking that to say that's what I'm going to say. It's to help me get more clear on what I think and how I feel, right? And from that, I might then create some bullet points and say, okay, these are the 3 areas that I really most want to share something about. And then I'll take it into this exact process that you're about to do. And like Andrea said before, it can be done on one's own just as well. Video or audio recording both have value, distinct. Then I speak to a timer. And then at the end of it, I say, what did I like in that? What went well? And then, and whatever I focus on with what went well, that becomes something that, okay, I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to include that in the next round, right? Okay. Does that make sense, Hannah? Okay, so let's do this. Let's see if this fancy timer situation is, okay, it's not that fancy, but my ability to use YouTube on a slideshow. Let's do 60 seconds. And everyone else, would you please type into chat a topic, something that could be a topic for Hannah to speak about? What would be something that you would like to hear Hannah speak about? Anything at all?
I'm in the hot seat.
You are. I saw you volunteer.
I put myself in the hot seat. That's all right.
That's great. It's, why is my hair purple? Her story, experience in living in all those places. Which one of those, or any of those, or it could be something else, Hannah? What's something that you would speak about for us?
Why is my hair purple? Her story. How about how she left South America? That's good.
Okay. So now this may be, and for everybody, understand here, going back to what we said about psycho-cybernetics, the biggest obstacle to thinking, to speaking, is thinking about speaking. So we're going to use the brain as a tool to help us, right? And you could do that as formally as, how I left South America is, you may not need that, but that's always a crutch that you can use. It's a prompt. It's a way to go back to it. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Now, for everybody else, our job is to listen and then later to be able to offer feedback in terms of what went well, what was strong, what stayed with you, what did you like? All right. You ready, Hannah?
Sure.
All right.
Okay, so I grew up in an ultra religious home. My parents, everything I did was taboo. I couldn't dance. I couldn't do this or that. My life, I felt as though I was trapped in a place where I didn't want to be. I remember clearly the day when I had enough. I was so frustrated. I walked down to the landing, and there were the guys in the contraband boat. And I said, "Hey guys, can you give me a lift?" They were going to Venezuela. It wasn't a lift from here to there. It was a lift to another country. And so I had my little bundle of clothes with me, and they gave me a lift across the Atlantic Ocean, and it took a day and a night, but I arrived in Venezuela, and that's how I left South America. I can't see the time.
Oh, okay. 14 seconds remaining. What else? South America.
Yeah, when I arrived in Venezuela, I couldn't speak the language. I didn't know anyone, and so I had to find a job. It was difficult. I was only 16 years old.
Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Let's give Hannah some Zoom love for her courage in sharing with us. Woo! And just checking, are the rest of y'all able to see the timer okay? Okay. So, and this is key. Hannah, you please start. What went well? What did you like? What worked well for you about what you shared about your communication?
That I just jumped in. I just jumped in wherever. It was not planned. It was not structured, but I just jumped in. That point, that moment stuck out in me, and I jumped into the being religious in a religious home because I hated it. Perfect.
Jim Rohn said something that exactly amplifies what you said. You don't have to be great to start, but to be great, you have to start, right? So true, so key, yet so easy to overlook. Okay, so let's do this. Let's hear from someone else. What did you like about what Hannah did? What worked well? What stayed with you? All right, Brian, using that hand raise. I love it.
Yeah, great job. I remember clearly the day. That was it. And it was emotionally charged. Emotions sells. Stories sell. You were not selling anything. You were selling yourself. But it had me leaning in, especially when you said, I remember clearly the day. And then you walked us down that path. You gave us a story. It was emotional. It was personal. It was powerful. So I thought that was fantastic.
Nice, beautiful. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, and there is a natural filter that happens for all of us when we remember something, especially if it's beyond 5 years back. What we remember is because it has some emotion to it. And when we write or speak about things that have emotional charge, the value for the listener, the audience, is way higher. So it's an easy way to filter what I want to share about. Well, what do I remember that's at least 5 years old? And let me pause for a minute. We'll go to Julie in a second. And we're at right now the top of the hour. So if you need to go, totally understand and appreciate you being here. We will just go for less than 5 more minutes, though, to bring this around. So if you can stay, great. Either way, I so love and appreciate that y'all are here. And Julie, what stayed with you? What did you like?
Well, I agree with Brian that it was very powerful. It was very emotional. But what I really liked was she answered the question. Like, how many times have we seen somebody go on and they don't answer the question? But she actually answered the question very succinctly, very on point, and that was great.
Nice. Thank you. Beautiful. All right, let's hear from one more person. What went well? What jumped out at you from Hannah? Deb?
I'm making an assumption, Hannah, that you did not feel the need to censor the way you speak, because you mentioned earlier that when you write or when you speak in public, you feel like you need to speak differently than you did just now. But I really liked, I don't know what kinds of accents are in your speaking. I love it. It was intriguing. It was really intriguing to just hear you speak the way you naturally do.
Perfect. Thank you, Deb. So as we wrap up for this session, and by the way, we do this, we're doing this now once per month. And for all of you, the $2,000 entry fee is waived permanently. It's on the third Thursday, that's 2 THs in a row at 3. Oh my God, that's the third TH in a row. Third Thursday at 3 Hawaii time, which Pacific at the moment, that's 5 p.m. And y'all are welcome and welcome to share with others. One of the biggest things I would love for you to take away from today is, here are the keys. The plank. Speaking is artificial pressure. We are training ourselves to be authentic, to be, coming back to being, be ourselves, even when there is pressure. That is 100% learnable and trainable and extremely valuable, right? Now, second part is part of the training is we give ourselves pressurized situations and then we learn from it, right? One value is every time we do it, well, we just get stronger because we get inoculated against the pressure, right? We're like, oh, we learn on a subconscious and conscious level. I felt this pressured situation. And even though my nervous system, my survival part told me, oh no, danger, danger, I didn't die. So that means that fear loses some of its power. Every time we do it, it happens automatically. Then we take from that pressurized situation, whether it's 30 seconds, a minute, 10 minutes, whatever it is, we take from that the skill set and mindset of a master, which is we give ourselves feedback. We say, what went well? What was great? What did I like about that? There's always something. And yeah, if we have the opportunity to get feedback from others and we can get them to deliver it with what went well first, and then even better if EBI, wonderful. Even more important though, is that we learn to do it for ourselves, right? Because we can always count on ourselves. We don't always have the situation where there are others to give us feedback. All right. So that's going to be a wrap. I would love to hear from y'all though. Please, would you share what's something that's been valuable for you today? What's something you learned? What's something you can apply in your life? We'll popcorn style it so you can jump in or raise your physical or virtual hand. Oh no, nobody learned anything. There's nothing valuable. Oh, Joan Claire, excellent.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just looking at my notes here briefly, and I love what you shared, Daniel, about fear plus breathing being excitement. So just to the importance to kind of harness that excitement and not just breathe and be super calm, I guess. It's like, let's harness that excitement and use it to move the power of your speaking forward is what I'm taking away from that. If I interpreted what you said correctly, that's what I'm taking away.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you add some breathing to the fear, it becomes excitement, that becomes enthusiasm. Everybody wants a speaker who is alive and engaging and has passion and energy. Worst thing ever is, yeah. So well done. Thank you for that. All right. Who else? Brian, what's something for you?
I especially love it shines through your passion, Daniel, about what you're doing. And I also love something you're doing that I don't see very often, and that is engagement and inviting engagement from the people that are in the webinar. And I mean, great input by Joan Claire, by Deb, by Julie, by Hannah, Andrea, walking in the dark. I mean, incredible, great group here. And that means you attract some incredible people, Daniel. And I thought that was a really cool, excellent component to this whole thing, was to bring in other people's expertise and experiences that actually made it even more powerful. And, you know, with your leadership, that just drove it perfectly. So great job, buddy.
Well, very kind. Thank you for that. What's one thing, Brian, that you take away or that's useful for you or something you learned today?
There's so much. It's about being authentic and passionate. And the way you are presenting right now and this whole time was you have a true bona fide passion for what you're doing. You're so inviting. I just feel like I want to reach out and hug you because you just are, you're just a wonderful guy. It's obvious, and to me, and that is very compelling. And I think it's a huge positive quality of any speaker to be able to come off with that kind of authenticity. That's a big learning moment for me.
Beautiful. Thank you for all of that. Yeah, all of us getting to more of our authentic selves. It's so valuable. Okay, let's have one more. Who else would like to share something of what you learned or something that was useful for you today, something you can apply?
One of the things that I really liked was the even better if. And using that. And so, you know, looking at, okay, I really like that I did this and this and this, and it would be even better if. That's a very gentle, kind approach to doing feedback.
Thank you, Julie. Yeah. And, you know, and this is, it's like, I have a whole seminar just about feedback. And when I do longer trainings with people, we go deep into the art of feedback because it's so valuable, feedback is, and yet so often poorly used or even destructively used. And here's one of the most basic things, which I'm sure you're aware of because you caught this distinction. What we often do, and you hear this a lot in different situations, people say, oh, that was a missed opportunity, right? And what is that doing? It's going backwards. And it's not true. It's not a missed opportunity. It's an awareness, because guess what happens in life? You get another chance. There's always another chance. So if we can take that moment and say, what can I learn? What would be even better in the next time? Then it's awesome. Every situation, every flub has the opportunity for a lesson that makes us better and more effective in the future, right? It's just training our brain to take that opportunity and learn how we can use it. So EBI is an awesome friend. Thank you for saying that.
Welcome.
All right. Well, so we're going to wrap up. Some of y'all I didn't get to quite meet yet. Hopefully will another time. Thank you for joining us. I saw one of the email reminders came out with an incorrect subject line. I'll get that fixed. We'll be back on the THTHTH the third Thursday at 3 Hawaii time. And thank you again, y'all. I so appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being interested in upgrading your speaking. Amazing people you are, and you got important things to share with the world. It's super, super valuable, and I really appreciate you giving me the chance to share with you. So thanks, y'all, and we'll see you later.
Thanks,
Thank you, Daniel. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Daniel.
Awesome. Aloha.
Is